Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the show. I am feeling so pumped. I've gotten so much clarity on where the podcast gets to continue to transition into. And I've actually gotten a lot of clarity on my gene keys, activation sequence, and my purpose. And everything is kind of dropping in. And, my husband actually helped me. He life coached me this week and he loves when I have breakthroughs, when he supports me. And I feel like what spirit was asking me to step into, which so much of the last several episodes have been building upon each other. And it's okay if you haven't tuned into all of the episodes, but I'm noticing how they're building upon each other and right centered around this commitment and this belief and the consistency and just showing up. And right, this is about the journey, not the destination. We hear all these things all the time, right? We hear all these like terms and acronyms and slogans, but it's all truly starting to drop in. And what spirit was asking me into, and I think what I also want to share, because so much of this is simplifying spirituality. When I say spirit, I believe that we are all a fractal of God. And so I believe that my higher self is, right, is spirit. And my higher self is a fractal of God, as we all are, right? We are all a fractal of God. And so when I connect in those during those devotional times, right, there is no separation. We're connected all the time, but a lot of times we're unaware and unconscious of it. So when I'm in that conscious space of connecting in, I get a lot of guidance. And one of the pieces that's truly been dropping in is around having a plan, but being adaptable. And my Virgo brain is like, what in the actual fuck does that mean? How do I have a plan? Like, so much of my energy was being expelled because I would have a plan and then it wouldn't go according to plan because the center of my world is my son. And there's, things are changing all of the time, which is also funny because that's my radiant sphere. My radiant sphere is all your radiant sphere in the gene keys is all about what allows you to, like, what keeps you healthy, like what keeps you thriving. And so much of it is about versatility and movement. So I've got this dichotomy in my life where I like structure and I like to know and I like to have a plan, but then my soul essence is craving freedom and adaptability and versatility. And it was very confusing. And so I would like have a plan and then like the plan wouldn't happen. And then I could feel inside my body, like feeling let down and feeling disappointed and feeling like victim of it. And why, how do I do this? It was very like, it was this almost black and white, this odd dichotomy of like, I don't know how to live in the gray area with this. And then all of a sudden, just something just clicked as I was discovering the facets of my business this week. I'm like, okay, I've got down. So, really, I've been for my personal practice for the last probably 6+ months. As you know, I've lost 50+ pounds. I weigh less than I did. I weighed 20 pounds less than before I had my son. So, I gained around 30 pounds when I had my son, and I've weighed 20 pounds less than I did before I had him for a total of 50. And I wasn't trying to lose weight. What I was committed to was having energy and showing up and feeling alive and having clarity and being present. And so I started to slowly change like my non-negotiables where it's like, all right, I'm going to move my body for 30 minutes a day no matter what. And that's what I did. And I just got crystal clear on like the choices. I was being much more intentional about my choices with food because I knew it wasn't just impacting me, it was impacting my son through the breast milk, but also impacting my entire family unit, right? Because it was, if I ate things that weren't serving my body, it would impact my energy, which would impact how I showed up in my home. So all of it was like I was deeply devoted and I had a lot of intentionality, right? And that started to shift personal practice wise, where it's like now it is autopilot mode, moving my body every day, having my spiritual practices, the way that I eat. Like I don't have cravings like I used to, where I wanted to, when I would get tired, I would want to like go to a chocolate bar, for example, or I would want to go to coffee, right? Everything's a get to. And if I choose to have an alcoholic beverage, which again is very few and far between, it's a get to. If I choose to have coffee, it's a get to. I'm not like dragging myself out of bed in the mornings at 5 a.m. Like, um, okay, I'm having a moment here. Hey, babe. Chad. Okay, it's right here. I'm going to probably leave this in. My computer wasn't charging and I thought that the cord was out there. I don't know where my husband is. And but the cord which just wasn't plugged in, but I had the cord here. So I'm also working on being prepared, right? So much of coming out of this motherhood portal is like having all of my podcast equipment, like having the cord. So many times my computer was dying, my phone was dying, right? And that was part of it is like having a plan. I love that that just happened, right? Because having, and I'm not going to edit that out because having a plan is what helps me feel empowered in my life and helps me feel prepared so that when things don't go according to the plan, I can be resilient and I can be adaptable and I can bounce back and it doesn't take me out. For the longest time, it was taking me out. So I started in my personal life when I wasn't really back to work fully yet. And now that is so strong. I now have evidence of how strong that is. What's happening now is it's happening in my work where I was, right? I have a very small window generally where I can have uninterrupted work during the week. I've got my nanny, but I also am starting to have fulfill on coaching calls and podcast recordings and different things. So sometimes, a lot of the time, like half the time when the nanny's here, it's me like putting output, engaging with clients and colleagues and things like that. So having uninterrupted time in front of my computer, for example, it's few and far between now. So I was having this whole thing with like, how can I bend time? How can I shift my relationship with time? How can I not be victim of this experience because I love my son, I love being a mother, and I also love my work and I also love my spiritual practice. And so how can I like fully feel into what does this get to look like? So my husband, all of a sudden, he's like, Lindsay, like, all right, let's do this. Okay. He's like, you've done this with your working out and your personal practice. He's like, you've figured out your non negotiables, you've figured out what you value, and you've made it a priority and you've adapted, right? Like you have a general window of when you work out, which is after my son's first nap, but it doesn't always happen that time. It doesn't always get finished. Like oftentimes I'll start a workout and after about 20, 30 minutes, I've got to switch it up. And I get through 20, 30, and then maybe a little bit later, I'm able to get through the rest of it. And sometimes I can't get through the rest of it. Right. And so that's where it's a beautiful thing. Like, oh, there's always tomorrow. Sometimes my son allows me to get through a 90-minute workout and if I'm really feeling it. So there was something that shifted where my husband with my work was like, okay, the four main buckets of your life, of your business are your retreats, your private coaching, your Oliveda, and your podcast with your affiliates. And so we went through priority of what is the most income producing and also what has an end date. Like the retreat is a live event that has an end date. What gives me the most cash injections is the retreat and my private coaching right now. What's more of a long game is my Oliveda business, my direct sales business, which is more residual and long game and my podcast, right? Like that's like that slow burn. You just get to keep showing up. So I got to prioritize, okay, these are what I get to focus on. And what is the most important thing that I get to focus on for each facet of my service work every single day and do that. So right as my son goes down for his first nap, I'm doing the first thing. What in the actual? My computer. 1 second. Now my computer, now the universe is just messing with me. Why? Okay, this is so weird. My light just went out. Something's going on with this cord. Okay, weird. I don't know what's happening. Oftentimes, okay, we're just going to roll with it. Oh gosh, brain. Another thing, distractions, right? I have a plan and I'm like, oh my gosh, things get to be perfect in my mind. And I want to show you that you can still you can still put out an episode and have technology, you know, throw a wrench in things. And for some reason, there's something loose with my cords here, and I don't know what the situation is and where it is. But right now it's showing I have 6% battery because I thought my computer was charging before, but it wasn't. And it seems like it's charging now. So, right, I keep getting pulled from center, and this is life. And so now I'm like, okay, I first did it with my personal practice. Now I'm doing it with my business. And I'm doing the most important thing every day for my retreat. And then the most important thing for my coaching. And then the most important thing for Oliveda. And then the most important thing for the podcast. That's how it rolls. That's how I roll. When in reality, like I love recording podcast episodes. It's not my main income producing activity. Like I do it because I love it. I do it because I see the long game. I do it because it brings value. I do it because I see the potential and I know that I want to keep it going. But that's not the thing that I get to start Monday morning first thing, right? And so I'm like, wait a second, why was this so hard for my brain to fathom and actualize? And so what's cool about this is I started to implement it this week, and I would say those are 4 buckets of my business. So I'm like, okay, if there's 4 buckets of my business, that means that's 25% of my, each bucket is 25%. If I can give 100% of that 25%, what would my life look like in 365 days from today? Like in 1 year, what would my business look like in all those areas of life? And so that's really helped simplify, as this podcast is so much about like simplifying spirituality and simplifying life in general, right? So many of you probably aren't postpartum mamas. Some of you may not even be entrepreneurs. Some of you may not have children at all. Some of you may not be in a woman's body. It doesn't matter. We all know what it's like to feel overwhelmed, and we all know what it's like to lose sense of prioritization. And so I'm just helping you kind of at a microcosm scale, kind of peel back the curtain as to what's supporting me right now so that I can show up 100% for all areas of my life, right? So the buckets of my life are my spiritual practice, right, my body, my working out, spending time in nature, my time with my son and my family, and my work, and obviously my puppy, also travel, right? So it's like, right, the retreat covers travel and my service work. My working out with the class that I do most days covers getting out in nature, covers my spiritual practice, and covers my movement. So you see how it's all like there's no separation. And I was trying to separate all of these different areas of my life. What's so cool about this, though, is as I started to prioritize like the retreat, because it's a live event and because it's my main, income producing, time sensitive area of my business. What's so cool about it is as I've been having conversations and sales calls and messages and all these things and writing emails, people are coming back into my life in different ways. Like, so, right, some of my clients want to go to the retreat. Some of my colleagues want to, some of my colleagues in the coaching world want to join me in Oliveda. Some of the people in my life who have wanted to go to the retreat are telling me that their financial situation gets to change. So I get to bring up Oliveda with them. Or maybe they're having blocks about something in particular and they're having fears coming up. So they want to hire me in coaching. So it's like I know my priority and I have my plan, but then life just brings me the different opportunities and the different conversations. And I really get to get out of my own way and just let spirit work spirit's magic and allow however this gets to unfold, whether the 4 areas of my life. So the 4 areas of my service life, like maybe it's a conversation about Oliveda that then turns into somebody being on my show, on my podcast, right? So it's like I have the intention of maybe following up with someone about the retreat because they were interested from a social media post or an email, for example, and then it turns into something totally different. Or maybe it's not even related to business. Maybe it turns into a different type of organic conversation. I'm like becoming a sourdough baking master right now, and I get to have conversations. I've been having conversations with some of my people who love making sourdough and have perfected it, right? So it's like it's really just like, how can I be in my authenticity and show up and just offer what I know and what I love and what's serving me. And that could be through the form of my service work and also just being a friend or having an answer for them around something non-toxic related or a spiritual modality or a book. Um, recently I did a reel where I basically called it how spirituality became a significant part of my life. And I talk about my friend dying when I was in college. And somebody wrote me, actually, somebody in my life who supports me somatically. So, right, I've got like body workers and acupuncturists and all these things. And somebody that is in my life as a body worker, she was like, I want to know what books you read when you grieved the loss of your friend. Right. And so I was able to give her value. She saw my post and I was able to give her value by sharing that the number one book that supported me on my grief and spiritual journey was Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss. Hands down. Hands down. If you've ever lost anyone and been confused about that experience and just grieving and feeling all of the emotions of the human experience, that book may be the one for you. So, anyways, that was my formal intro as to why I feel like, what did I want to call this? Oh gosh, I had a name and I was like, oh, I don't need to write this down. The title is going to be called something along the lines of um, working out. I think it's like working out as the ultimate spiritual practice. I'm actually going to type that down so I don't forget it. Working out as the ultimate spiritual practice. Okay, here's why I love this. So I'm like kind of an expert at this now, right? Because I've been doing it for a long time and I've really implemented it in a different way. So everything is in service to from that inside out inspiration versus like motivation of like, oh, the society tells me I need to move my body. So I'm going to do this, or like, I want to look good, right? But it all has to do with that internal game. And so, why I love sharing working out as the ultimate spiritual practice, I'm going to give you 3 things that I have discovered and gleaned from doing so over the course of the last several years, and how I've shifted my relationship with movement. And so much of this podcast is about simplifying spirituality. And so many of you are on different journeys of your spiritual journey and practice. And sometimes it can feel like a lot to squeeze in. So I want to show you that there is no separation. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And so you absolutely are having a spiritual experience while you are spending time with your loved ones, while you're working out, while you're eating a meal, while you're creating a meal and making a meal, while you're at work, while you're engaging in conversation. It's all a spiritual practice. And again, how we transform whether we feel something is a spiritual practice or not in our everyday has to do with our consciousness and our awareness. And are we being present in the moment, or are we just letting life take us out in autopilot mode? Or are we actually being intentional with how we're engaging with somebody else or with ourselves throughout the day? So working out is the ultimate spiritual practice. This is what I love. And you know, some of this may be like unpopular opinion, but here's the deal. So much of our society, especially those of us that live in first world countries, especially those of us in the States, especially because technology is on the rise, right? It's so easy to stay in the comfort of life. It's so easy to stay comfortable. And I do not take that for granted. I have full body chills. I do not take for granted how blessed I am to have chosen at a soul level to be born in the United States of America at this moment in time. And I really have a hard time. And I know that there's still a lot of healing that gets to happen in the States and on the planet, right? That's evolution at its finest. But I have a really hard time when people are so just in their shit about what's going on in our country. I have a lot to say about what's going on in our country here in the US. And there's a lot that's being dismantled and a lot that's being dissolved. And I am here for it, even though I know that it's scary at times and it's a bit wild, wild westy right now. Let's just put it that way. However, I am so blessed. And I know that that means we're in this great epoch of change. And why I feel that way is because of doing the work that I do. And I have a really hard time when people don't feel any form of gratitude for, again, the infinite blessings that we are presented every single day living in this country where we have the freedom to use our voice. And I have the freedom to come on here with my mic and share what's on my heart without any fear of repercussion. And just to have a safe nervous system where I can, for the most part, walk outside and feel safe, go about my day and feel safe. That is such a luxury. And I feel, like I said, I feel so blessed. And because of that, societally, we're like afraid to be uncomfortable. We don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to be cold. We don't want to be too hot. We want things delivered at our doorstep. We don't want to go do the hard thing. And I feel that that has been such a disservice to us in so many ways. Like we don't put ourselves in challenging situations anymore. And why I love like an intense, maybe I'll even say intense workout, it challenges us. And when we are in challenge, that builds resiliency in the body. So some examples are plant medicine journeys. So again, like some of you, that may not be something that is calling you, but I'm giving you examples. Plant medicine journeys, deep shadow work, intense workouts, darkness retreats, sweat lodges, coaching programs that you know are going to turn your world upside down foundationally and like kind of bring you back up, right? Retreats, transformational retreats that take you out of your everyday environment and put you in a different environment so that again, you can meet yourself doing the deep work. Those are examples. Also, like for me, moving, having a child, right? Like leaving a partner, choosing to be in a relationship. Like there's a lot of things that we do as humans that are more like for example, moving and having a child. Those are more like divine orchestration, right? Like it's part of my journey here to have moved from Florida to North Carolina and to have a child in this lifetime, right? That's different than that's a bigger, like more catastrophic type event. And I don't want to call it catastrophic, but you know, it's like a big event where what are we doing like in the everyday that is supporting us in challenging us and being in relationship with discomfort? Because that's what builds resiliency. And you know, it's so funny. I'll never forget this. My midwife totally helped me soften in my body because when I was moving while pregnant, I felt stress. And there were times where I maybe would like stress eat, even though for the most part, I was like on point with all of it and doubling down on my practices and doubling down on moving my body. But there was times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel stressed. Like I feel stressed. There's so much uncertainty and my body is tired and I'm sick of moving and I just want to relax. And I da 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 da. And she goes, you know what you know what you're doing with your son right now? You're building resiliency. And I'm like, oh. And she's like, and you're teaching him to build resiliency because the whole intention of this is to not have a regulated nervous system all the time. The intention is to know that things come up throughout our life experience and throughout our day, and we get triggered and we get in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and things happen. And, you know, whatever, like our heart starts beating faster and our breath starts to shorten and we get frustrated and angry and sad and all the things. The intention is to go back to what does that feel like? What's our baseline to come back to regulated nervous system response? It's the same with the body. Oh, also cold plunging. Great example, like putting ourselves in extreme different temperature situations. Again, sauna, sweat lodges, cold plunges, taking a cold shower. That puts the body in like holy shit mode. What in the actual F is going on? And what that does is it creates all of this, right? The blood starts pumping, like all of the organs starts working, everything starts being activated and enlivened within our vessel. And it actually is what creates resiliency and it creates all of this cellular turnover and everything starts firing, wiring in new ways. And her body gets to have this boost of like aliveness. So that's the first piece is let's take an inventory of like, where are we too comfortable? Like, where are we like, I'm not going to do that thing. Like, I don't feel like it. Right. It's like when I am in an intense workout and I'm doing a burpee and it's fucking hard and my mind is telling me you can't do this. And there's parts of my body that are hurting. And I'm like, I now dig deeper. I'm like, I know I have more in me. I've got more in me. And I like leverage that I can't and that victim energy. And I like transmute that into empowerment. And I get this like Joan of Arc energy and I start roaring. And I mean, when I tell you, and I do this sometimes at home in front of my husband, but I'll be like in a plank doing a mountain climber or doing a burpee or doing something really hard and my body's hurting. And oftentimes, like my back hurts a lot because of carrying my 30-pound son. Like I'm still doing pelvic floor therapy. Like there's a lot that happens and with the woman's body, especially when we have a child. And so there's parts of me that hurt at times. And I'm just like, obviously, I know the difference between is this pain or am I injured? Right. So there's that difference. But for the most part, it's like, I'm just like, I don't want to fucking do this. My body hurts. And I harness that and I let so much sound come out of me. And I am just grunting. And I know that we've all been at gyms before where we've seen, particularly like, like the stereotype of like a meathead lifting heavy shit and grunting. And I used to judge the shit out of those guys. And I'm like, they fucking knew something I didn't know. Like they were on to something. I forgive myself and forgive this person for me having those moments in that of judgment in that time. But they actually knew something that I didn't in those moments. And that is really powerful. So can we just like, yeah, it's great to have comforts, right? It's beautiful that we can have things that make our lives easier, but can we put ourselves out of that box of comfort and make ourselves uncomfortable and see what happens with the mind? Like what happens when we can notice the thoughts and have the awareness and push through and feel something, right? Like feel the discomfort. What do we do when we're in discomfort? Can we just feel it? Can we be in relationship with it? But can we not try to like stop it or move through it too quickly? Can we move with it? And that segues into my second point, which is when we create a container. And again, this is so similar to the work that I do. So, right, like breath, sound, movement, somatic embodiment modalities to support you from into dissolving, transmuting, and transforming whatever is stuck and in the way of you living your highest potential. That is literally my work, but it's just a different modality. So now it's similar. It's a place to practice so that you practice on your mat or you practice wherever you're working out so that you can show up in the outside world. Because right, what we repeat, we strengthen. So how can we practice? So now I'm getting so clear and I have my journal next to me and I get so many like downloads pouring in. It's like, oh, I'm feeling that feeling again. Where is my, like, what's happening in my body? Where is my mind going? I have so much information and feedback coming in as to like, okay, what is actually happening here? Why do I want to stop? What is my mind telling me? Where am I hearing I can't and you need to give up and this isn't worth it? And so it's beautiful because when I'm challenged in my workout container that I've created safely, I have feedback for how I can show up in relationship with challenge in the outside world, whether that's with my husband or with my son or with a work engagement or if somebody cuts me off or whatever it is, or I'm tired. It's given me so much beautiful feedback because I've been in the practice of it over and over and over again. And the last thing is we all know that movement creates an energetic shift in the body, right? We know what it does to the endorphins and the hormones and the nervous system. Again, we know what it does for the cardiovascular system. Like what it does for our health. I mean, it helps our breathing. I just can't get enough of this. Like, I'm not trying to shame you here, but I promise you, if you are not moving your body every day, um, you're not going, like if you're listening to this show right now and you're here for self-actualization and self-love and peace and really embodying wholeness and welcoming your humanity and your humility, and also recognizing that you are a magical, mystical, divine as fuck being. Like, if you really want to embody that, I will be super honest with you. I don't know how that's possible without moving your body on a consistent basis. And I would say every day, if possible. You don't have to challenge yourself every day with intense movement, but like if you're not walking or cycling or dancing or shaking or right, because it's all related, it's all connected. So that shifts us energetically. Again, it shifts our hormones, it shifts our cardiovascular system, all of it. It's a flush to the system. And I just want you to get curious around, like, if you're not moving your body, why? And I see this all the time where there are people who are doing spiritual work. And again, like, it's so hard because we're all spiritual beings. But like, for those of us that choose to be in the like spotlight of spiritual leadership, if you're not in your body, you're doing yourself a disservice and humanity and a disservice. And you're missing a huge piece of the pie here, because our vessel houses our soul. Like, we are here in this physicality. I chose up to be Lindsay Marten Ellis in this form. And if I am not honoring and being in relationship with my body on a daily basis through movement, through nutrition, through like practicing different modalities to support my nervous system when things happen and things don't go my way, or somebody screams at me, or somebody, like I said, cuts me off in traffic, or we get snowed in, or my son has a fever, or I'm tired from traveling with my husband and son over the holidays, or whatever it is. Or that one person says that they, want to work with me and then they change their mind, or they want to go to my retreat and they're right. It's like getting my hopes up on things or being attached to things, all of those things. It's like, if we're not moving that shit, if we're not right, like we see animals shaking all the time in the environment, like if we're not just like helping dislodge by using the vessel that we have, we're totally missing a huge piece of the mind body soul connection, right? So it's like the mind and the physicality of our body and our will, and the heart is connected with our soul and our emotions. So it's all part of it. It's like the emotions, the body, the thinking, right? Like, all that's why we always hear like mind, body, soul. And so that's the trifecta. That's the sacred trinity. It all gets to be in harmony. And so this is like my stake in the ground of where can you be moving more? And oftentimes, I mean, there's times where I do squats when my son's in his high chair and he's not having it and I'm not able to like get the workout that I want in. I'm doing squats and playing peekaboo with him at the kitchen counter. Or he's playing in his room after he wakes up in the morning and he won't let him, downstairs we have a playpen, and a lot of times he's on the move now. He doesn't like being stuck in there. So I'll take him in his room and let him play around, and I'm like foam rolling and I'm doing mobility training and I'm doing my pelvic floor therapy and I'm doing my pelvic floor breathing and I'm stretching and all the things. I got my lacrosse balls in there and I'm doing all of these things to support my vessel. Like, where are my muscles tight? Where, right? Everything is feedback. Our bodies are like antennas and they carry so much information. And so I want you to kind of get curious around those three things, right? Like, it creates working out, especially intense workouts, builds resiliency. And again, that's the first piece. The second piece is it creates a container for us to practice how to show up more conscious and aware in our everyday lives. And then of course, we know how everything is connected. And so it shifts us energetically, physically, mentally, spiritually. It shifts us every single time that we move, every single time. And so it doesn't need to be like you got to go do an hour intense workout and you got to drive to the gym and make it this whole experience. Again, it's like, where are these little glimmers that you can take throughout your day to go walk outside or go ride your bike or go surfing or go and try a new workout that you've been telling yourself you're going to do for a long time. And this is why, as this is in January right now, so many people sign up for the gym, but they don't have that, right? They don't have the devotional piece that's pulling them towards their highest potential and their dream life, right? It's like, oh, okay, I feel like shit. I ate so much cheese and I drank so much wine and like I don't even know what day it was. And now I'm going to join this gym. And then 30 days later, they're not going back to the gym. If you actually want to keep something going, this is what's got to drive you. This is how many layers of depthness and richness it requires. And I'm here for it. And like, I'm not fucking around anymore because I know that nobody is going to come save me. It's up to me. So God's got me. This came through from spirit. And I was like, holy shit. And I've known this for a long time, but God's got me. And God is not something outside of me. It's my higher self, who is a fractal of source, has got me every step of the way. And I get to be the one to make the conscious choice to connect with God, to connect with myself, to take the action every day to live my Dharma. And now that I'm a mother, I look at my son and I'm like, there's no, there's no cop outs anymore. There's no more victim. There's no more I can't. It's like, nope, I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this for my husband. I'm doing this for my son. I'm doing this for my legacy. And I see so many people just like stuck in like, oh, that's too uncomfortable. I'm not going to do the hard thing. Do you know how many people I've talked to about the retreat who are like, oh my gosh, I saw your post. I want to go on this retreat. And they're like, but I need to manifest money. And it's like, okay, and what are you doing to actually manifest that? That's why manifestation doesn't work for most people because it's about causing and creating. This is co creation. So again, co creation is God's got you and nobody's going to effing save you. You've got to do it. You've got to do the hard things. You've got to put yourself in the uncomfortable situations. One, you've got to practice internally so that you can show up in the outside world. And you've got to move, move the energy, move the emotion, move your body. If you're not moving, you're dead. If you're not moving, you're not alive. Whether that's moving forward with something, whether that's moving your body, which is why I love this practice. I feel like I was really fired up today, but man, can you tell? I'm fired up and I like want to take everyone with me. So I really hope this wasn't coming off. I was like, you better fucking do this, but you better fucking do it if you want it, right? So it's like it's not impacting me, but I would love for you to come with me on this journey of self-actualization and doing it. And I think people don't realize I was just interviewed on someone else's podcast recently and it's like um transformation is hard. Are you willing to meet yourself in those hard moments because pain is hard. Pain is challenging. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. And I believe that suffering is what happens when we're in that hamster wheel of not wanting to feel the discomfort. So it's actually, we think like doing the uncomfortable thing is going to suck, but it's actually temporary, where the suffering is when we're like not motivated by life, we're tired, we're exhausted, we don't know who we are, we're living out of alignment, we're in a job that we hate, we don't know how to get out of this relationship, we don't know where we want to live, we don't have clarity, we're scrolling our phones 24/7, looking at other people and saying, oh my gosh, I'm triggered as fuck because I want their life and I don't know how to get there. So this is how we do it. Okay. I feel like I'm really fired up. Please know this is coming from love. Sometimes it's coming from my fierce love. And I feel like nothing like becoming a mother that has put me in this like fierce mama mode energy of calling you forward. Like I'm also here, like, yeah, I'm your spiritual bestie and your soul bestie, but I'm also here to call you forward. And I was just looking at some testimonials from some private clients over the years, and Aileen, who worked with me for quite a bit of time, um, she always says, you have a gentle approach. That's no bullshit. And I feel like that's how I am with my partner, with my son, with my friends. You know, you're going to get what you're going to get with me. And I'm going to do it from a place of love because, um, I like to lovingly call the people forward in my life who are ready for it and who are asking for it. Okay. That's my podcast episode, working out as the ultimate spiritual practice. And obviously, I brought in so many other elements here, but as you know, there is no separation and it's all connected. All right. I would love to know what you think. Send me a message on Instagram or send me an email, lindsay@lindsaymartenellis.com. Find me on Instagram. Maybe even just tag me, tag this episode if this is landing. Maybe somebody who just joined a gym and isn't feeling motivated, maybe this is what they get to hear. This is the episode they get to hear. So feel free to share the love in whatever way feels aligned. All right, I'll catch you next week. Mwah.